So, photosynthesis. What is it and what does it do?
Why do we need it?
Yes. So, the purpose of photosynthesis is to convert light energy into carbohydrates for storage and future use. As you can see here, the reactants are carbon dioxide and water, and the products are glucose and oxygen. The oxygen is a byproduct, and the glucose is what the goal is. So,
The photosynthesis takes place in the chloroplast, which is an organelle that's found in the cells of plants. The chloroplast is composed of an outer and an inner membrane, and then inside that are the thylakoids, and the stacks of thylakoids are called granum, and that's surrounded by the stroma. So the products of photosynthesis are the reactions of cellular respiration, as seen in the previous equation, and photosynthesis can be divided into two main steps.
those two main steps are light-dependent reactions and light-independent reactions, or dark reactions, or the Calvin cycle, as we'll be calling it. Um, the light-dependent reactions take water and break it down into chemical energy, and then that chemical energy is used in the Calvin cycle for carbon fixation, which gets to the end goal, carbohydrates and glucose. So, light-dependent reactions. It all starts in the chloroplast. In each of these chloroplasts, there are chlorophyll, which are photosynthetic synthetic pigments. These absorb light waves and are green, and that is why plants are green, because they have chloroplast with chlorophyll inside of them. In each of these, photons hit electrons and they get excited. This is called electron excitation. Molecules in the thylakoid membrane accept the excited electrons from the chlorophyll, and this is called the primary electron acceptor. Then the primary electron acceptor donates the electrons to a series of molecules in the thylakoid membrane. This is called the electron transport chain. At this point, electrons lose most of the energy they acquired, and it is used to move proteins into the thylakoid. Protons. My bad. Then, in chemiosmosis, electrons go back and forth across the electron transport chain, and each time bring a proton with them, and this builds up a proton gradient. And eventually, all these protons flow through ATP synthase, an enzyme, and produce ATP and NADPH.
All right, the Calvin cycle. The Calvin cycle is a series of enzyme-assisted chemical reactions that produces a 3-carbon sugar. And so carbon atoms are bonded to organic compounds, and this is called carbon fixation. So all of this occurs in the stroma of the chloroplast. So the first step is that CO2 diffuses into the stroma from the cytosol, then combines with a 5-carbon molecule called RUBP to make a 6-carbon molecule, but that's rather unstable. So almost immediately they split into 3 carbon molecules called 3-PGA. And so then each 3-PGA is converted into another 3-carbon molecule called G3P, and that's done by getting a phosphate from ATP, a proton from NADPH, and then releasing a phosphate group to form the G3P. So one of these G3P molecules gets to leave the Calvin cycle and is used to make carbohydrates, but the remaining G3P molecules are converted back into RUBP through the addition of a phosphate group from ATP. All right, so I guess some additional notes. Light intensity, CO2 levels, and the temperature all are factors that affect photosynthesis.
And then there are also alternative pathways that can perform carbon fixation, like C4 plants and CAM or CAM plants, but those are designed for extreme conditions and are in much less widespread use. So that's kind of irrelevant. But that's photosynthesis.
Yeah.